let's move to our next presentation by Harsha Kadimisetty, who is the co-founder and CEO with Aerchain. After his engineering degree in 𝗏𝗏𝗏, Harsh joined Bosch, where he handled sales in India and international market. His stint in Bosch helped him understand the procurement process of various organizations, and this led him to build his first startup, 𝗃𝗏𝗏, which focused on aggregating indirect procurement for manufacturing enterprises in India. On that note, can we welcome Harsha with big round of applause, please?
I'm Harsha. I'm taking care of everything on the business side for Aerchain. And today what I want to talk about is like an extension to what our previous speakers have spoken about in terms of no one size fits all, right? We all know that procurement is a vast function, starting from identifying the requirements all the way till awarding and paying, right? So the world has moved towards best of breed solutions on top of the existing suites, which have been digitizing the process for the past few decades as well. So in such one such topic we're looking at as the sourcing. How do you go deeper in terms of from identifying the requirement, and how do you move all the way till awarding to the right supplier at the right price? That's what autonomous sourcing is about. And I'll take you to the journey of where you are, most companies we are speaking with, and how is that we can help them take to the next level. So we are also recognized by Gartner for autonomous sourcing, one of the few players in the market globally who are trying to do that. So I'll try to share my experience on what happens. So this is just double clicking on the overall source to pay process. Where is that most organizations are? They have all started with somewhere between the traditional process on emails, Excels, and moved on to the digital workflows, which includes RFX, auctions and stuff. But if you see, as and when the complexity increases of a particular category, they again resort back to manual ways of doing it, right? Across the value chain. It's not just about sending and receiving the bids across, but across the value chain, many of the activities are being done still offline, whether it is risk evaluation like we're talking about, whether it is optimization, scenarios, so on and so forth. So it's a combination of traditional plus digital workflows. This is where most organizations are today. And how is that we can drive them all the way till autonomous sourcing by enabling different levels of automation at for different categories. Not everything can become autonomous, right? So how do you make it autonomous wherever possible, and how do you make it data backed, right? Collecting the data at multiple stages and leveraging AI and ML to ensure you're reaching truly autonomous. It's a journey, it's a start where most organizations today are looking at and trying to get the benefits towards us. Even before getting into how we can be there, how any organization can be there, the first step is, why is it even required, right? I'm happy we are doing digitizing, we are using a lot of the best tools in the market which are globally well known. Why is it even required for me to take this journey, walk the hard path, and spend about a year or so to truly become autonomous in our sourcing? So in this, I'll take a small example in terms of comparing cost savings with, let's say, weight loss, right? Most of us, I mean, every single one of us have been at least once in our entire lives, very conscious about weight loss. We would have done some crazy diets or crazy exercises, workouts for about 3 months to 6 months and immediately lost weights. But again, it's never sustained, right? Because you don't have a framework, you don't have a practice, you don't have the right guidance or the judgment to sustain it over a very long period of time, right? So what is that we can do? I mean, can we look at a healthy lifestyle? Can we look at, adopting yoga for all of this to ensure that, the entire lifestyle is changing? Similarly, cost saving is also not something you do it for a month, for a quarter, for a year. This is what my targets are, and I'll try and achieve it however I want. What is the framework? How do you ensure whatever you're building in today is helping you sustain it for the next 1 decade or 2 decades, right? What are the frameworks? What are the tools? To sustain the savings and make it a lot more scalable, repeatable, that's where this entire autonomous sourcing will help you ensure whether you're there or not there, you'll always be sure that your enterprise, your organization is buying goods at the right service, right goods and services at the right price from the right suppliers. So the journey is required to help you sustain the savings, whatever you're doing, whatever your procurement teams are doing. Now, how do you do it, right? How do you even achieve to that state? One of the things which previous speakers have spoken about, where AI works, like in IoT manufacturing, we are able to see because you're able to collect data. Today, procurement, to actually reach the state, it doesn't have enough data. So even though technologies are available, we are not able to leverage, the benefits of it. So collecting the data is the underlying theme to be able to get any benefits out of this overall autonomous sourcing. So what is the challenge in collecting data, right? There are multiple challenges. I'll try to double click on this and explain in each of the stage in the entire cycle, why is data collection such big a problem and how can we enable, to be there. So we all know, very familiar with the process, starting from collecting the requirements all the way till, P2P, contracting, cataloging. These are all the entire value chain which we look at. And at different stages, you have different challenges to collect the data the right way for you to build that sustainable, scalable model, which can work even without you, right? Or which can work with minimal intervention from you. So starting here, collecting the requirements from the end users. Again, when it comes across different industries, there are different challenges, or different categories, there are different challenges. If you're looking about tail spend, right? The entire tail spend, indirect spend is so vast, number of suppliers, number of transactions are way too many that, you can't ask a user, which are thousands in numbers for most of your organizations, right? You can't ask the user to adopt to a complex technology, capture the data they want. Many organizations have tried doing this and, failed in terms of, yeah, I can't do all of this. I will do everything. I'll just give you the document, create a PRPO, whatever is required, transaction is done, my work is done. Similarly, many times, how do you, let's say, in EPC, we have seen such examples wherein site level purchases, right? My production is happening, my construction is happening on a daily level. If I get to your procurement process, whatever you need, it'll come, you'll have a 4 days, 5 days SLA which you would have given to the business, and I don't have time to wait for that, and they would directly buy and then try to digitize the transaction. So, and this is the entry point for the entire flow, right, till the time you're negotiating. If you're able to handle this particular portion of the digitization very clear, this is where the data enters the flow. So if garbage is coming in here, there is only garbage is going to come out there. So controlling, making it easy for the user to add those data, to submit their requirements, whether it is complex BOQs or complex services, right? If you're looking at an auditor, if you're looking at a consultant, how do you make it simpler on their existing channels, on their existing technologies, right? For tail spend example I have spoken about, can we give a natural NLP level bot to ensure that, user, what he does is today talk to a procurement team or, write a mail or, put it in Slack channels or Teams channels. Can we use the same level of convenience to the user to collect the data in their own technology platform? They don't have to learn anything. They can continue to do the same way and let the system guide the user in terms of the selecting those right goods and services, getting the contextual data for that particular category, right? What is required? I mean, to make it very simple for all of us, if I'm looking for a laptop, like I put in a laptop, the system asks him all the right questions saying that, hey, what's the GB, what's the size, what's the brand? Then when let's say, user selects something, the system also can say that this is the preferred option from your organization which has been contracted, so on and so forth. This is a very simple thing, but if you can establish this across multiple things, making it convenient for the user is the first key step towards digitizing this, collecting the data, and then leveraging the data for whole of it, the entire process, what we see here. Making it user, taking technology to their platforms is a key which we believe that, happens, works. And now once you have this data, you have a lot of historical data, and you have a lot of, many companies today, many startups today are trying to, are building companies or starting companies assuming that they will collect around 5 years of data and then start making money by using automation. But as enterprises, we have a lot of data already sitting in our ERP, sitting in our multiple systems overall. How do you leverage all of your historical buying patterns and automate the process of finding and sending out the inquiries, who are the best suppliers, based on multiple parameters? There is no single parameter we are talking about here. We are talking about risk, we are talking about delivery, we are talking about price, quality, so on and so forth. How do you connect all the systems and see for this particular requirement at this time of the year, who are the best suppliers who can cater to my requirement? Again, it's all about using the data in multiple systems, which is already there. The problem with data today is that it is not structured. It is completely you don't have a very clean format. This is where the capability to read through, analyze unstructured data and make sense out of it, and it's not 100%, right? You need to train the data as per your organization requirements. Every organization is unique, every customer is unique. How do you train the data for your organization requirements is where the category expertise of buyers come into picture. Each buyer has got 5 years, 10 years, 20 years of their experience. They've gone through it. How do you translate that experience into the system? And it should not be a task, right? Many organizations which we have spoken to so far, which we are working with so far, have spent few years trying to, clean the data, manage the data. But you put it as a separate exercise, it never gets done, right? How do you make it a part of their work in terms of identifying the supplier, in terms of negotiating? Make it a part of, so whenever they're closing or processing that particular transaction, collect the data, whatever is required for you to run automation or for you to build a thing. Make it as a part of their process. Like, hey, these are not the suppliers for so and so reasons. I do not want to go with this suppliers. And at the time when the requirement is coming, you're trying to capture this data from the user. It becomes a lot more easier for every one to collect the data. And tomorrow, like let's say I'm leaving, I'm the procurement manager of this particular category for this particular company. I moved to another company, I moved to this, but I've collected the data, whatever I have from me, the system has collected, which is used even tomorrow a fresher comes and joins us. It makes it, he can get started from day one. Collecting the data at the time of processing the transaction is the key to ensure you're able to do it. If you put it as a separate exercise, no buyer, no end user has the time to capture the data the way procurement wants. Make it a part of their process. And this is where we see majority of our customers are using some of the digitization tools. But again, for simpler things, like the example I've given, if you're talking about laptops or some power tools or MRO items, yes, it works beautifully. But if it becomes a little more complex, like BOM-based items, BOQs, or complex services, like if someone were to procure someone like Aerchain, they have a huge worksheets, around 5-6 sheets taking different data, and all of that again happens offline in an Excel sheet, and there will be a single line item saying that sourcing, e-sourcing is the line item which goes as a data, but everything gets saved in the Excel sheet overall. So how do you get the convenience of, again, the way to solve it is make it as convenient as an Excel, right? Get the level of configurability which Excel provides, get that level of convenience into the system, and make it easy for the user to build it, and not just use it for the first time, reuse it whenever he wants, not just him, anyone in the entire organization. Make it easy for the customer, the buyers. More importantly, now you have made it easy for the buyers. Now what about the vendors? At the end of the day, they will have to use the system, they'll have to do this. It's not convenient, and majority of these complex requirements happen on Excel. They download an Excel file, fill in whatever they want, upload it back. So this RFP tools became just a fancy email exchange tool or a document exchange tool. And some people still are doing it on, let's say, SharePoints and other common folders. So how can you let the vendors work on their own systems? Very, very important. This helps in close to 100% of digitization. Can they continue to work on their Excels? Whatever complexity you have, let them continue to work on Excel. The data comes back into your system the way you want, not letting the suppliers go through the trouble of learning a new technology. Taking it one step further, right? Excel is something for the organized sector. For most of the companies here we are looking at, it works. Excel works. Vendors, you can say that, hey, send it across Excel. This is the format. What happens if you are dealing with an unorganized set of vendors? Right? Today we are doing a pilot with another customer where their entire business is dependent on how much backward integration they do with their best first starting level of supply chain, which are the farmers for them. How do you get such level of unorganized vendors to do this? Now, there is a scope, they want to do business, but they can't follow processes. So what we are trying to do, one of the ways in which we can do, they do price inquiries twice in a day because the prices are so volatile. How do you automate this entire price inquiries on as simple as WhatsApp? For them, just let the system automate. You have all the data. All the vendor will have to do is just reply back on WhatsApp and say that, hey, this is my price. Buyer has all the data of how the prices have been fluctuating. To a level, they can get connect external data points as well in terms of how the commodity is fluctuating and how your landed price is going to get affected based on that, and make it simpler, making it, again, here also, taking the technology to their existing platforms where they're comfortable on, helps you in collecting the right data at the time of processing the transaction, right? And most of these discussions, right, anything which becomes common, I mean complex, you have your end users, you have your, in 𝗶𝐵C it is the projects team and the design team. In let's say one of the customer hospitals, it's the doctors who look about it. Now, getting all of them again to collaborate on individual data points, right, on a system is, we have never seen it. So what happens? A WhatsApp group is created for that, or some other email chain is created, and they discuss each one of it. All of the data is lost again. Can we get that WhatsApp group kind of a convenience where people can discuss on specific data points, specific item in the thing, which is all used for leveraging it tomorrow. So tomorrow when someone is doing the same process on this data point, what has been the discussion in my previous project, what is that I can learn from it, and what is that the system can learn from it. This is where making the collaboration between end users, procurement and system, again taking technology to their own platforms. The last thing, or the last but one of the things which we have seen is analysis still happens primarily over offline sheets. Few examples, it just doesn't stop at what if scenarios, right? You have too many technical, there are 5-6 parameters. One is risk we have talked about, one is SLA, one is. So considering each one of those parameters, technical, commercial, logistical, inputting all of that into a model and let the system run the scenarios, right? These are all the multiple scenarios in which you can optimize your cost while discuss, because there are always competing priorities and preferences between different teams, right? Procurement has their own agenda, end users of that particular team have their own agenda. How do you input all of these models into the system, where system can run, let's say that, hey, 70% of my business, this particular technical parameter, let's say moisture should be greater than this, and my price has to be optimized. Let the system run all the simulations and present you, hey, this is a scenario, or this is possibly another scenario. Now compare and cross-check. Let the system do the heavy lifting in terms of how it can be analyzed, taking into your inputs. It could be, there are customers who do about 50 different inputs for a single sourcing event because of the complexity and the size of the deal which they're getting into. So how do you create, simulate, and compare, and then do it? And finally, we're talking about negotiation intelligence being captured by the system. Negotiation is a daily job for almost all the procurement team here. I've been a procurement guy myself. How do you learn from my intelligence across so many years what I've been doing? How I negotiate with the supplier, how I negotiate with this particular category. Again, at the time of negotiation, can I start capturing the data points I would want to enable this, make it scalable, so that I don't need the best negotiator in the world to close this deal. Anyone can do it because the intelligence is there. The discussion becomes a lot more data backed and smart for anyone to take it up. So this way, there are different challenges when it comes to strategic side of items. There are different challenges when it comes to the tail spend of items. How do you use optimization techniques and automation techniques to really do it? But all of this is step 2. Step 1 is collecting the data, making it a lot more easier. This is how we believe that we can move towards autonomous sourcing by collecting the data, taking technology, learning from this, and it's a journey which can be achieved by every organization. And of course, the primary thing beyond all of this is systems being able to talk to each other in their own way, native integrations, pre-built integrations to your ERPs, source to pay, so on and so forth. That's a key. We'll have to look at, of course, it's a complexity to manage multiple systems, but again, complexity doesn't stop us from solving something great. So that's where we try to move towards complete automation. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions on each of the things which I've spoken about would be happy to discuss. Yes.
So first of all, thank you for this entire detail and you covered. So my question is, so if we talk about the entire solution, so the key element is for success is how your partners are adaptive to it, or the vendors.
Yes.
So from your experience while you're working with different customers, so any key challenges which you can share and how you overcome that?
Yeah. One of the things, first we have started off with, a very intuitive, keep it short, simple, stupid. This is the kind of thing for the vendors. They don't have to learn anything. Come and do your job and get out. So we have made it very simple on the web as well as the mobile platform. It didn't stop there. There are only we were able to achieve 60, 70. Then we have taken it to Excel overall. So you work on your Excel, reply back on your Excel. We will take from there. It's increased to 70%, 75% when we release our Excel thing. And again, it's not 100%, but we want 100%. Data is important for 100%. Then we have released the WhatsApp side of things for smaller items or anything up less than 5 items. Can they just interact on WhatsApp without having to interact? Increase to 80%, 85%. Few other additions which we are doing. Our goal is to take it as close as possible to 100%. So can we do something like, on the mail itself, don't go use any other system. On your mail body itself, you reply back, you submit your bits. These are the levels which we have done, but the thing is, two things, right? One is making it easy for the vendors. The other thing is communicating it very clearly, what is the value you can get from this. These two together, when we have done it right, we have seen vendors, our solution is live in around 11 countries in Africa, where Africa is probably 10 steps behind us as India. And we have vendors, we have a customer using about 15,000 vendors. We have seen 90% plus adoption with the vendors because we heard to them. The key behind all of this, how we are able to do it is we have been that vendor. We have worked with a lot of enterprises before. We have been the vendor. We have seen our challenges. We have been a buyer. So it's been built ground up most of the times. That's how we have been able to do it. We are not 100% there, but I think it's a journey towards 100% adoption for us.
Hi, Harsha. Thank you very much. I think you guys are doing a wonderful job in terms of bringing in technology in areas which is much required now. Meanwhile, I have a question. I myself belong to a technology company, hence I've gotten a question regarding that. Now, if you talk about bringing in artificial intelligence and machine learning, how are you dealing with the situation where customers are looking for high accuracy at the start of the business? However, high accuracy in terms of the technology solutions that you're deploying, right? For example, there are certain bots who are being trained on certain intents, right? But obviously, when you put on your solution, greenfield with a client, it will take a while to get there. So how do you deal with such challenges when you're talking to the client and getting that onboarded, your platform onboarded in their organization?
Yeah, accuracy is a thing which we have to solve for each one of us here. So that's where we do, right? You get started. First, step one is making it a part of their integral process, making few clicks. And when we start talking to the client side, we say that, hey, we are at 40-50% level of automation. When we get started, this is purely because customers would not have captured the data which it was required to automate for years together, right? So we'll take care as much as your users are able to provide that initial intelligence to the system to train the models, we'll take it from you. It's a configuration on the system. But it starts at 40-50%. Use it for a quarter, it goes to 60-70%, and use it for 1 year, it goes close to 80-90%, right? And till then, no customer, no buyer. I mean, myself, if I'm a buyer, I would not let the system do for the first time, right? I personally need to get the confidence and even train the system. System is good. So let's say I'm taking a fresher for myself. That's how I will look at it. I look at him, I train him to certain things, let him on the job, monitor how he's doing, and see if any correction or fine-tuning needs to be done, and then keep training him. In 1 year's time, he would be able to do whatever I'm doing very nicely. The same thing applies to an AI model also. You don't let them do, or you don't let a fresher do $1 million discussion on day one, right? So you train the system, get confidence, and then let it do its job. That's.
Do they run parallel systems?
No, it works this acts as a layer on top of their existing systems. They don't do parallel systems. It defeats the purpose, right? Because we are making it easy for the users. If you ask them to do 2 systems, maintain 2 systems, the purpose is defeated. Data is never collected. So the interface becomes Aerchain, the data collection layer becomes Aerchain, but all the transactional flow happens back in their existing systems, which are deeply integrated.
Okay, thank you so much, Harsha.
Okay, thank you, people. You still have questions? Harsha is also around with his team. They also have a booth. Please get hold of him and his team during the tea break, which we'll take now, and the lunch break. And on that note, Harsha, still stay back for a few seconds. Can I request Rahul Poddar on stage to hand over the momentum, please? Thank you, Harsha, for your time and presentation.